again, this is Caleb Gipson, and I'm bringing you all of the financial information that may be useful to you in this age that we have come into economically. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for tuning in again and just allowing me to try to elucidate you and whoever else I can on the situation that we are presented with in this country. Today, the topic I'll speak about will be derivatives. Derivatives are financial characters that are outcomes or results of previous financial characters. For example, an interest is simply a financial character that's derived from a loan. In the beginning, there were no derivatives because when our economy as a world was first created, we functioned on a barter trade system. And in this barter trade system, an example of it would be, let's say I had 50 apples, but I needed some oranges. And you had 50 oranges, but no apples. So you needed to converse. Well, I would give you 20 of my apples for 20 of your oranges, and we would satisfy both of our needs. This arose not out of institution, but out of necessity. Because someone had a need that must have been met, and someone else had a need that must have been met that was corresponding with the first person's need, we could simply trade out and everything would be perfectly fine afterwards. Later in time, as our economic system started to develop, we realized though that this particular system could be tedious and present problems in the future because if I had 50 apples, you had 50 oranges and 30 apples, I couldn't trade you out any apples for your oranges because you already had something, or the only thing that I could trade with you. So the need for a universal currency came about, and because of this need, we created derivatives. And the first derivative was a note. And these notes were meant to represent the amount of commodities that we had. One of the first commodities that we used for currency in America was gold. The derivative of the commodities that we initially were using or trading for. After time passed and gold became inflexible as a currency, we started using banknotes. And we instituted a system where those banknotes can be used without having any financial backing at all, or any tangible financial backing. And once that occurred, we started to use debt as a way of backing those notes. As all of this happened, inflation started to rise, as I talked about in my previous podcast. Where derivatives, they are they're inextricably linked to this inflation because whenever a person has, for example, a loan, they generally have an interest that comes with their principal on their loan. The interest, of course, is inextricably connected to the loan, derives its existence from the loan, and generally derives its amount from the loan. Because in some cases, if a loan is smaller, the interest on it may be larger. While if it's a larger loan, the interest on it may be smaller. Simply because the amount that's being paid back will be larger in the absolute sense rather than a relative sense. So because of this, that particular interest will be inextricably connected to the loan, not only in the amount, but also in the existence of it, because an interest cannot exist unless a loan has been given. So, let's say that you have a loan, and of course you have to pay back the interest on it. Well, if the loan is also dependent upon something else, which would be the currency, and the currency is dependent upon something else, which would be the people's promise to back that particular banknote, then if inflation occurred because the gross national product was less than the amount of dollars that they printed last year, but the gross national product remained the same, then because of the inflation that occurred, the amount of the interest on the loan would in effect increase because you would be paying more relatively. To give you an example of this occurrence, let's say that you take out a loan for $1,000 so that you can buy a TV, and this loan has an interest rate of 5% on it. Well, in reality, you would be paying $1,050 for this $1,000 TV. Now, let's say that this particular loan is not enough to pay for the TV because you experience, or we as a country experience, an inflation rate that causes the TV to become valued at $1,200 now. In that particular instance, then you would have to take out another $200 loan just to afford the TV. And if that loan has an interest rate of 5% on it, then it would be an extra $10 that you would have to pay on top of that loan's principal. So, when you add both of the loans and their interest together, you would be paying $1,260 for the TVs that generally cost $1,000 just because of the inflation that occurred, and also because of the way that derivatives affect each other. So that's the problem with derivatives. Now here's the solution. Since derivatives are volatile because of the dependency on other financial characters, then the safest way, or the safest things to possess, are the things that derivatives are dependent on, which at the foundational level are commodities. In particular, commodities that have a high demand. So, though commodities will rise in price, you will be the one profiting off of the price increase if you invest in the commodity. In a sense, the harm becomes a benefit because of a change of perspective. If I don't own a gas station and prices jump from $2.50 per gallon to $3.50 per gallon, then I definitely won't be happy. But if I do own a gas station and we experience that sort of markup, I won't have any problem with the situation at all. In reality, I probably didn't gain any relative monetary value simply because all other commodities, which I most likely will have to buy in the future, will also experience a similar price increase. But I didn't lose any money either, since my investment adjusted positively when inflation took effect in its usual way. Derivatives reinforce why it's most conducive for one's success to develop the owner's mentality, which is characterized by saving less, investing more, and finding ways to process more transactions in less time. Saving is not inherently bad, so don't think I'm telling you not to save at all. In fact, I've already planned to create a few trust funds and savings accounts to provide for my children when it's time for them to spread the wings and lead the nest. But what I'm telling you is to save less than you invest. And the reason why you should save less than bonds that offer a 2% or 3% interest accrual. Think big and take calculated risk. When I say calculated, I mean do your homework before you invest your money. You have a vision to start a retail merchandising business, then do it. But do your homework first. Find out what business structure you'll use, what zoning and licensing permits you'll need, and how you plan on marketing your business, along with any other information that may be important and can help you before initiating the process of building your business. I advise you to take moderate risk that will help you reap large rewards, but I also advise that you do extensive research and planning before embarking upon your journey. As for processing more transactions in less time, this is the key to expanding and obtaining financial freedom quicker. Syndicating one multifamily real estate deal, that's cool, especially if you draw in $1,000 per month or somewhere around that number. But syndicating 10 more deals that bring in the same amount of passive income is brilliant in the way of not only offsetting the negative aspects of inflation and compiling derivatives, but also in the pursuit of becoming a walking, talking capital firm that generates its own money. Because essentially that's what you do whenever you compile the amount of passive income that you draw in. All of this said, the appeal of high demand commodities should be increasing in your eyes. Because the commodities aren't derived from any financial character, you have more control over your financial situation since there's less volatility present. However, you must decide for yourself how you will utilize your mind in a way that will cause the commodities to bring you wealth. And that's where your inner genius comes in. With that, I'll wrap it up in this segment. Be sure to tune in to the next episode to learn more about the various types of investments you can stake your financial future in. And on that episode, I have a surprise in store for you. So, be sure to listen in. And now, I leave as I came. In peace.